Alright, so I just got done playing A Plague Tale Innocence by Asobo Studios. Is that how you say that? I don't know how to say that name. And it was published by Focus Home Interactive. Now, this game has been getting some high praise ever since it came out in 2019. It was up for a lot of Game of the Year awards. People really like this game. I would say it was getting hyped like crazy. And it got me interested in it because I'm a person that likes playing narrative-based games. So I was looking forward to this. It's a linear game, mostly story, not a long game. So I'm liking that a lot because I feel like games are just way too long these days. I mean, every game got to be over like 25 hours. There's only so many hours in a day. And I would say Plague Tale runs between 8 to 10 hours, depending on how you get through it. If you skipped all the cutscenes, you could probably get through it in like 6 hours. But when I was done with the game, I was actually fine with that runtime. I felt like the game didn't overstay its welcome. I felt like it ended at just the right time because I was getting very annoyed with the actual gameplay towards the end of the game. Like, it was fine for most of the game because this is a stealth-based game. More of an intermediate stealth. It's not so intense like Metal Gear Solid. But you also have a shooting mechanic with a sling and a rock. You could hit people in the head, stuff like that. And the actual like mechanics of shooting and walking around the world and stuff like that, it's not the best. It's something that hopped out at me immediately. It's just like, wow, this gameplay is nothing special. That's like the first thing I thought playing the game. Another thing that popped out at me was the animations on the face, the way the bodies are moving. It didn't really strike me as anything impressive. I've seen games do this stuff way better, other narrative-based games. And then you find out that this studio that made this game is maybe a 50-person studio here. And they didn't work on this game for 7 years. I felt like, the mechanics, the animations, everything in A Plague Tale was just enough to get me through the game. Because I felt like the world they built was very interesting. I liked the rats, I liked that whole aspect of the game. The gameplay mechanic of the horde of rats you gotta try to avoid. And then at the very end of the game, you get to control them. So I thought that was pretty cool detail they added. I played this game on PS5 because it was free on PlayStation Plus a few months ago. And, anytime a game is free on PlayStation Plus, you can always add it to your library through your PlayStation app on your phone. And it'll just be sitting there waiting for you. If you're still waiting to get a PS5, at least you'll have some games to play for free when you get it, if you remember to add these games. And I did that, And this one I wanted to go through immediately when I got my PS5. And, very overhyped, I think, is the general thing I'm feeling about this game. And that's not to say it's bad or I hated it. I actually quite liked the game for most of it. There's literally one segment near the end of the game, and if you're watching my Twitch, you saw me totally rage at this one section that just spikes in difficulty out of nowhere. And it's mainly difficult because the mechanics aren't working. The aiming mechanic isn't locking on like it does for the rest of the game. It's supposed to lock on relatively easily, and then this one section it just doesn't at all. And I don't know if that was something glitching with the game, but I felt like the buttons were just not responding to my inputs, and it got very frustrating. But that was about it. After that, you get to the final boss, and the final boss is nothing. He's very easy. In fact, difficulty is not really a focus of this game. You can't even pick your difficulty when you're starting the game, and it only gives you an option to turn off the HUD or keep the HUD on. Which, I might play through the game without the HUD just to see what that's like. I think that'd be interesting. Because the actual HUD on screen is very minimal anyway. You could just get rid of it and you wouldn't notice. But going back to difficulty, I don't think difficulty is that important of a thing. There's obviously a lot of difficult games that you can play, like Dark Souls or Returnal. Apparently, Returnal is supposed to be quite difficult. So, you can play those type of games if you want to get that fix. But that wasn't really the point of A Plague Tale. Plague Tale is to tell an actual story. And, we have to judge it based on the story they produced. And there was a lot of good moments, but overall I felt it was really cliche and not that interesting. Other than the actual fact that these rats are man-eating rats and they swarm like piranhas. I thought that was neat, even though that's not how rats are at all. There's a lot of fantasy elements to the game. The kid has superpowers, stuff like that. And, I wasn't really expecting that going in, honestly. I didn't know anything about the game. And I was hoping it was going to be about, the Black Death, an actual plague tale. I thought that was the game was going to be about. Because I feel like that subject matter is interesting enough on its own. You don't need to add any fantasy elements. It's pretty horrific what happened. I would like to see a game about that. But this one is more, fantasy driven, telling the tale of these two characters, a sister and a brother, the older sister protecting the younger brother who's has some blood condition, and he's becoming this superpower being that can control rats and stuff like that. He's the first rat catcher, of course. And the whole game is centered on these characters, so it's relying on them to keep you invested in the game. And I'll be honest, a lot of this game, I was just shaking my head at Hugo, the little boy. I was so annoyed with this character. And then you find out that he is 5 years old. So, all right, he is an idiot. He is no wonder he's making all these mistakes. And he keeps running off, for no reason. He doesn't look 5 years old. I thought he was a little older. I thought he was like 8 or 9. But he's 5 years old, sheltered from the world, because he's going to become this superpowered being. And he's just super naive about everything. To the point of just being annoying. Saying he's like constantly talking, and it just gets annoying. I hope they fix that in the sequel. This game is getting a sequel, Plague Tale Requiem. I hope the character gets less annoying. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to listen to this kid constantly yapping about stuff he's seen for the first time and running away constantly making mistakes. I don't want to see that again. I hope they progress that further. I hope they fix the combat, maybe make the combat a little bit more engaging. You could still keep your stealth mechanics, but just make the actual combat of aiming and shooting better. Make it feel more engaging. I think you got a good little game here. But yeah, overhyped. This game was sold on its story, and its story is very cliche. I gotta protect my little brother because he's my little brother. It's not like this most groundbreaking thing I've ever seen. Would I replay the game? Maybe I would play one more time. But that's about it. I don't see myself coming back to this game year after year, like I would with some other masterpiece games, like Last of Us or something like that. Which, by the way, very similar themes here. You got your companion that you gotta protect, stealth mechanics, stuff like that. Shades of Eco, you're constantly holding your little brother's hand throughout the whole game. Totally reminded me of that. The new God of War game where you have Atreyu as a side companion, but he's actually helpful, and he actually is not annoying. So, a bunch of games have, done the stuff that I've seen in this game. It feels like a Plague Tale is taking elements from a bunch of different, games that are like this. And the setting is cool. I like the time period. I like the way the environments look. The game looks pretty. The animations are not so pretty, but that game itself looks gorgeous, especially on PS5. But also, I've seen games that look better than it. Death Stranding, looks way better than it. But then again, that comes back to a Plague Tale being made by a much smaller team. And if we are to look at it just through that prism, it is a very impressive game when you consider how many people made it. So I gotta give it props for that. But yeah, that's my review of Plague Tale. I think it is very much overhyped. Still a good game. Decent experience. It ends at just the right time. It doesn't go on too long. Of course, there's a lot of cliche things in the game. Like the boss fights are also very cliche. You get your 3 phases and then you take out the boss at the end. It's very reminiscent of a lot of games you've played in the past. It's not breaking any new ground there. And I felt like it was an opportunity to break new ground. You know what I'm saying? This game is not really about combat or bosses. So why are we tacking on a boss at the end? You know what I'm saying? Just find a different way to end the game. And I know video games, you have to have your boss fights. I know. But sometimes a narrative-driven game that's 8 to 10 hours. It's a linear path. It's just trying to tell a story. Maybe just focus on the story and characters exclusively. Don't even worry about, tacking on some boss fight. Just make sure you worry about, story and dialogue and characters. That's another thing I was annoyed by with the game, is that the dialogue is very wooden. very stilted. Things that nobody would say in real life, or back then probably. Like, it doesn't sound realistic at all. I wasn't believing anything these characters were saying. And it really, that's another thing that kind of pulled me out of the game, but that's my review. Yeah, I got lots of problems with it. It is not a Game of the Year caliber game for me, but an enjoyable experience that I would recommend to people that just like narrative games, that you just want a story. This is another game you could play, because narrative-driven linear games are kind of hard to come by. They're not making as many of these type of games as they used to, so on that basis, I feel like I have to support it anyway, because that's the kind of games I like to play. And A Plague Tale is made with, some love and care. There were some sequences that were very good, but a lot of it was reminding me of a bunch of older games and stuff. Yeah, anyway, what score would I give it? A 7 out of 10. I feel like if the dialogue was better, if it was more believable, and if Hugo wasn't annoying like crazy, it would probably be a much better game. Oh, and the music. I forgot to talk about the music. The music of the game is incredible. One of the best soundtracks I've heard. It was definitely the highlight of the game for me. Definitely the thing I like the most from the game is the soundscape, the music. That was pretty much carrying me through the game, honestly, because it definitely wasn't the story or the dialogue with the characters. And it certainly wasn't the gameplay, because that was not that engaging. But the music sounded so good. And I was playing it with headphones, and it just was great. I highly recommend everybody to get the best sound out of this game as you can. Get some nice headphones or something while playing it. It sounds great. If this game didn't have this soundtrack, it would probably be like a 5 out of 10, honestly. But the soundtrack really brings the game together and actually gets you to feel like nervous or scared, because the music is intensifying, and it's really good. But anyway, that's going to do it for now. Yeah, 7 out of 10. PlayStation event is coming up this week. I am going to live react to that. And that's going to do it for now. My Twitch is in the channel description. I'll probably put a link in the comment section. Yeah, my Twitch, that's where I play these games. Go join it. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.
Amicia, they hit him!
Roderick, leave the cart, please! No!
Fucking look at this lock on. This is like ridiculous. She stopped sprinting at the top of those stairs too. Lock on! Lock on! Fucking hell!
Don't worry! Come on, keep it up! There!
Don't die, Roderick! Don't die!
I just
Jesus Christ!
need a break.
That's it, Roderick! Leave it! Take cover!
Oh, he's got arrows in him. I still could die here.
We're here.
Come on!
Fucking finally,
Come on,
dude.
quick!
It wasn't locking onto their heads. That was the most frustrating thing ever.
I'm
Like,
right
oh my god.
behind
God
you.
damn.
All right.
Sweet Jesus. The whole game was fucking fine. The whole game's fine locking on until right there. Like, how did nobody playtest this?
Your turn.
God, they better. Oh, he's dead.
I'll get you out!
So frustrating. I don't even care that this guy's dying.